Thanks for joining us today. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce three of probably the most significant people in the Agile Lean business agility space. We've got Mark Lyons, Scott Ambler, and Al Shalloway in our Ask Me Anything. So please, as Ron had said, use the Q&A and we'll open it up with Scott, Al, and Mark just giving a brief introduction of themselves.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Scott. I'm one of the people behind Disciplined Agile, and I'm here to answer your questions.
And I'll go next. Go Al.
Okay, well, this is Al Shalloway. I used to be CEO of Net Objectives, and I brought our Agile at Scale approach, Flex, Flow, and Lean for Enterprise Transformation, and integrating in with Disciplined Agile. So that's what I'm doing, mostly large scale.
Okay, and I'm Mark Lyons, also one of the creators of Disciplined Agile with Scott, and just thrilled to be part of PMI. I don't know if any of you follow Al on Twitter, but his name, he says, proud to be part of the new PMI. And with emphasis on the word new, I do really believe, I know, this is not the PMI you might be familiar with. It is completely different. They've made a solid a commitment to being a leader in the Agile space. So we're having a lot of fun working in PMI now.
Thanks. And I am going to actually start off with most likely the only question I'll have for each one of you today. And my question is, can each one of you in a minute or less give your outlook on the next 12 months for Disciplined Agile out in the industry? Starting with Scott.
Okay, I was waiting to, okay. Yeah, so I think it's going to be a really interesting and really exciting 12 months. We've got some great stuff coming out. I know Al's going to talk about some of the stuff he and his folks have been working on, and I'm sure Mark will too. But yeah, we're going to be fleshing out parts of the toolkit. We're doing some interesting updates. So from an IP point of view, very good things happening. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'll go next. Yeah, the stuff I'm working on, we call the Disciplined Agile Value Stream Consultant. And it's basically a broader view of a person who's actually responsible for a complete transition. If you're familiar with SAFe, it's not the same as the SAFe Program Consultant because it's broader along the value stream, and our workshop has a lot of new things in it. So that'll be coming out early next year. But what I think we're going to really see throughout the year is that is very exciting to me, is an approach of Disciplined Agile integrated with Flex that's not about frameworks, but is about a basis on flow, lean, theory constraints, organizational development, human behavior, but not where you have to grow your own, but you get to choose based on your context what works for you across the org. And I've never seen this done before at the scale and with the support we have here at the PMI. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and Mark, right, if I can add one thing on what Al just said. So yeah, in Al's ran an alpha program for the Value Stream Consultant program. And for those of us that have been in it, the content is absolutely fantastic. Really, really good stuff that's being produced there collaboratively. Yeah, it's been a cool program.
Yeah, so I concur with what Scott and Al are doing. I'm so proud of working with this team, and I think I really know and can see that we're putting together an agile journey, a career, a growth plan without peer in the industry. You know, PMI has always been respected for having the world-class career path community certification program for project managers. It's the place you want to be if you want to network with other project managers and learn, get certified, get properly compensated for your experience and skills. The agile industry really has been lacking that. We haven't had a real cohesive community, and PMI is creating that. And with the outstanding content that Scott's team and Al's team are putting together, along with our new certification program, I'm very excited about our future. So I did want to talk about a couple of things about that. The certification program. So after the acquisition, our first attempt of, we suffered a bit of indigestion with the integration. Let's be honest about it. And came out with the first edition of the certification updates with the DA Lean Scrum Master Cert. And I think it's kind of like the exploratory life cycle in Disciplined Agile. We tried it. We put it out there in the market to gauge interest, and we learned some lessons, and we said, you know what, we want to step back and do this right. And all credit to our certification team who did the research. They talked to hiring managers and said, if you wanted well-qualified Agilists to join your organizations, what would that look like? What kind of certification would you be looking for? What experience, what skills? And resoundingly, they said, we need a senior Scrum Master. There's a million Scrum Masters out there. And how do we know which ones have actually done this for a while? They have a rigorous certification, lots of experience under their belt. Who do we trust? And now we have a senior Scrum Master certification that is going to match the LinkedIn searches that people have for those kinds of people. And then you add into that a world-class enterprise coaching cert that will be released in 2021, and Al's work around value stream consulting for really improving flow and accelerating value delivery in those large-scale, complicated, complex, agile situations. So really excited about what's in front of us. And one last thing is that we're just releasing a DA consulting partner program, so that if anybody is looking for organizations, for consulting teams that they know about, that know DA, they've done DA, and they need help with training and probably some coaching services, they'll be able to find those through the DA consulting partner program. So that's what's coming from my perspective.
Fantastic. So we have some questions that I'll start getting into now, and I'm actually going to start off with one that's a follow-on with somebody who is in attendance today, which is Enrique. So Enrique and I were having a discussion on using Disciplined Agile in a construction environment, so both commercial as well as residential. So Scott and I touched on this just a few minutes ago. And so, Scott, I'd like to ask, what are your thoughts on what will be available for those types of industries in the very near future?
Yeah, definitely. So PMI is doing some really good stuff around lean construction, agile and lean construction, mostly lean construction. And the conversation Josh and I were having earlier was we both have recently pretty much gotten through having houses built. And both of us went with a hybrid agile approach. In my case, the traditional approach pretty much crashed and burned. But we eventually went with a hybrid agile approach. And it was very interesting. And I'd also done that in the past with home renovations at my previous home. But a lot of very good stuff is going on there, because this is real. And certainly in the construction industry, you can't be as agile as you would be with software. There's physical constraints and good stuff like that. But Disciplined Agile is well set up for supporting these sorts of things, because we've always had explicit planning, explicit architecture, explicit thinking, explicit governance, regulatory, regulatory guidance, all good sort of stuff. We've been dealing with that from the very beginning, and this is all construction industry stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
I would actually like to add something to that, if I can, because it's not just construction. We can think about a lot of other non-software related things that are, sometimes it's in knowledge work, sometimes it's in the physical world. One of the beauties of what I'll call the DA Flex kind of marriage or integration is, I've always been impressed with Disciplined Agile's huge toolkit. It just takes a lot of work to put all these options together. And at Net Objectives, building Flex, we came at it from a different angle, but it's the same idea. What are the underlying theories of flow and lean? And in lean construction, one of the things, of course, you use in lean manufacturing and lean software is removing delays. And whether it was called lean or not, construction has used this as time. Over time, we're just formalizing it. If you think about when they built in New York, the Empire State Building, it was kind of an interesting problem that they had to have just-in-time deliveries because they had a very small footprint to keep the materials that they were doing in the construction. A warehouser has things where when they deliver goods at a construction site, or the materials at a construction site, they deliver it so when people need the material, it's the material they need is closest to them, so they're not wasting time moving things around. This happens because you're paying attention to the theory of lean and theory of constraints and things like that. So whereas DA has done a phenomenal job as a toolkit and how you choose your way of working and choosing different life cycles, Flex, even when you're not at scale, brings this deep underlying theory as to why DA works. So if you're in a situation that we don't have something explicit for it, it'll become a lot clearer what you can do. And I think this is really a cool thing because a lot of people are trying to generalize where one thing works everywhere. And yes, we're broad, but we're trying to make it, if you're here, this is how you do it. If you're over here, this is how you do it, with a common set of theory, but different practices based on where you are.
Yeah. Okay, next question is from Kirk, and he asks, with this new Agile consultant role, what would you say to an organization's management that is concerned with productivity metrics of individuals?
Well, I guess is that mine? Because it sounds like a
Sure.
bigger company. Okay, well, to be candid, we should not be evaluating people individually when you're talking about a team performance. I'm not saying that there can't be individual metrics, but 360s or something, how the team feels about people. But the manager to the individual is something that can be counterproductive. I think part of this is the mind shift that we're looking for productivity from the team. And it's kind of like which leg of a table is most important is a silly question. It's rather how do the legs of the table work together? So if you want to evaluate somebody on that basis, that would be okay. But the old evaluations of individuals coming together is not appropriate. I forget who it was, but there was somebody, I just saw it on Twitter this morning, that says, it was, sorry, I'll probably get the teams wrong, but it was like a world famous coach in football, not American football, but real football. And he won the championship, and he says, and he benched his star player, and he says, I don't look for the best players, I look for the best team. And that's what you want.
Yeah, I just want to jump in there. You're playing an incredibly dangerous game when you're directly measuring individuals. It can be done, but there will be unintended consequences which you will not appreciate. So
That's right.
very careful.
Team members will start to compete with each other.
Yeah.
They won't work as a team anymore.
Yeah.
And it depends also what those metrics are, because if it's the metrics by manager that's trying to evaluate a team member who's got a specialty in, say, writing code, and it's about how many lines of code are being written, are they really going to become any more cross-functional? Are they going to jump in and do what it takes to get the goal of a iteration done, or a particular quantity of work? So yeah, not always great. Okay, Alex asks, where does user experience fit into DA, and how can a UX designer or UX manager trained in DA add value to their organization?
Yeah, I'll take that, seeing as I've got a UX background. All over the place is the quick answer. UX design and UX requirements, design, UX thinking was built into DA from the very beginning. We've actually been making an effort lately to make it a little clearer. One of the strange things with embedding UX thinking and design thinking all the way through was that it sort of downplayed it in many ways because it was just there. It was just part of the overall fabric of the toolkit. So we've been explicitly making it phenomenally clear, including in the mindset. We've explicitly called out design thinking and practices like that. But there's UX stuff all through it. So as far as getting trained on it, So as a UX designer, as a UX person, you want to have a full understanding of the overall process that you're following and how you fit in and good stuff like that. So this is absolutely critical. So keep it lightweight. Might not be as much upfront heavy design stuff as you would have seen in the traditional world, but it's absolutely critical.
So Marcelo asks a question that kind of gets maybe in a different bit of detail, or hits the question or the topic a little bit differently, Mark, than what you'd covered, as far as one or a few of the reasons why the new certifications, the Scrum Master and Senior Scrum Master, are there. And he says, page 63 of the Choose Your Wild book, which I always make sure I have the book. Well, let's see if
very nice.
There we go.
Christmas.
Choose Your Wild book, right?
Christmas is coming.
Why not call a team lead a Scrum Master, since that supports several lifecycle approaches? Not every team might use an agile lifecycle such as the lean one, which we wouldn't necessarily have a Scrum Master.
Can I start with that? Because I want to follow up on what I said before. Excellent point. You go into an organization, I think about this company we worked with in New York, where they had 26 teams. About 18 of them were Scrum, using the Agile Scrum lifecycle, and 8 were using the lean lifecycle. And by the way, some of the scrums evolved to lean. So if you're in a scrum team and you have a scrum master, and then that team starts to become lean, do you change the name of the scrum master to a team lead? Probably not. And by the way, the stakeholders, the business are just confused. This person's a scrum master in this team and there's a team lead on another team. Why not just have one term? So companies that we have worked with in the past always have this discussion with the executives to say, okay, we're going to start to roll out Agile here. What do you want to do? Scrum masters or use agnostic term team lead? And 9 out of 10 times they will say, let's go with the agnostic term of team lead. So that's always been our philosophy. And Scott and I have been pounding the table about being agnostic on this. And now we're paying the price because
yes,
people are coming back to us and saying, what happened to that whole agnostic thing? Why are you calling it Scrum Masters? So we need to separate the name of the certification and its value that it provides to you as an individual in your career and the underlying theory. We're not changing, at least now, for now, we have no intention of changing the messaging, the courseware, and replacing the words team lead with Scrum Master. It's still team lead. What you call it in your organization, you can call it an Agile project manager, a team lead, a Scrum Master. We don't care. It is a team lead. What you call it is something else. And the last point I'll make is, so why isn't it a team lead certification? I had a conversation, true story, with a partner at one of the big accounting firms, and he was responsible for Agile Center of Excellence for the entire world, actually, I think Canada. And he loves DA. I was having a coffee with him. He says, I just absolutely love it. I bought all your books. And so I says to him, well, you know what, you used to send your people to the courses. And he goes, well, I am sending people to Agile training, but I'm sending them for 600 people to a certified Scrum Master courses. And I went, what? And he goes, I get DA, I love DA, I want my people to learn DA, but guess what? My customers are asking for Scrum Masters. That's the reality. So the good news is we have a better Scrum Master. We have the best in class Scrum Master cert. It is DA plus lean flow plus what is the toolkit and how to use it. So that's kind of the rationale. Anything you want to add, Scott or Al?
Yeah, so I wrote a blog, a detailed blog on this very topic 3 or 4 months ago now on projectmanagement.com. So if you're looking for details, go check that out. But the basic story is, along with what Mark is saying, it's also an issue of different types of different teams have different types of leads. So an Agile team will have some sort of a team lead Scrum Master person. A project team will have a project manager, a project leader. A marketing team will have a marketing manager. An enterprise architecture team will have a chief architect. They're still team leads. So in many ways, the team lead role is this meta role of this is what it's like to lead a team. And then if you need a specialty, because there are some unique skills that a chief architect has when they're leading another group of a group of architects, for example. So I think there's that sort of thing going on. So but Mark's absolutely right. The marketplace is looking for certain terms, and it is what it is.
I want to actually add something because I think it's a segue to other things that are very important. So I've been in the Agile space since '99 when I kind of discovered XP. I was at a conference with Martin Fowler and it was like, wow, that's really amazing. And people forget where Scrum comes from. Scrum was not named Scrum. Scrum came from the new product development game. And the new product development game was designed for, guess what? A new way to do new products. And it was not based on empiricism there. There was in fact a lot of studies about how organizations did innovation. And when it was transferred from the new product development game to empiricism, which I actually had a conversation with Nonaka once about this at Agile Japan, where actually, ironically, he discovered that Scrum had come from him. He didn't know what Agile was and that it was based on the new product development game, which was an interesting fact. But he has a different model of learning, and empirical process control is not it. And we talked about that a little bit. So I view DA Scrum as, okay, it's Scrum from the idea you have a team building products or you have a team doing maintenance, but it's been refitted, so to speak, with all these things we've learned in 25 years. So it looks like Scrum, sounds like Scrum, and then goes much deeper when you need it to, and it can be contextualized.
All right, next question is from Steve, and he starts off by saying, thank you all for the opportunity to hear your thoughts. Hope you can do this on a more regular basis. DA has great value in the inherent structured flexibility for continuous improvement, especially for a large global company like mine. Can you tell us about the process of enterprise transformation in terms of just the most important, how to start, what to do, what to avoid? All in like a minute.
Well, I suppose that's mine. But there are ways to focus. I mean, enterprises, you've got to look at the whole thing, and the common practice is getting teams working together and then moving up the organization. I don't find that's really how to start. You have to look at the whole thing. Where are your pain points? Organizations very often have a pain point at the development groups because product management and portfolio management is continuously shifting, giving poor requirements, changing. So the first thing is take a value stream view. And by value stream, I mean the lean definition, not the changed safe definition. The lean definition is look at your flow of work from start to finish till it gets until value is realized. See where your pain points are, see what's causing those pain points from a flow perspective, and then go at the pace you can. And if where you really need to go is up to the business and they're not willing to get involved, then start where you can, but be clear what pain points you have and start showing them the pain points you have that they're not taking responsibility for. Just starting down at the team because it's convenient and where you can is an issue. Actually, this is part of the DAVS value stream consultant workshop approach is you don't get this massive list of things. I mean, you might end up with a massive list, but you look at what are the key points, how does that create the context for the other key points, et cetera. And that enables you to talk to the players involved in a way that lets them see what the impact of what they need to shift will be. And if they don't shift, what impact it'll have. If you're interested in this, Joshua, are we gonna have a way to give them notes and things after this?
Yes,
Follow up.
I'm doing a soft launch of the community forum that
Great.
we talked about where you've put some posts. So yes, we will.
So there'll be a way. Great. So there'll be a way to ask me questions and I can point you to where some more detailed information is.
Yeah. I just wanted to do a quick jump in on this one. So actually the three of us and a bunch of others just last week were in a working session on this very topic, and we will soon be publishing some transformation roadmaps and some advice around this. This is a big topic, so thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'm literally tomorrow going to be working with a graphic artist to get going on some nice pictures and good stuff like that. So
I'll hold this up for chapter 7, I think. Well,
Chapter 7, yeah.
7 and 8 in that book is a pretty good write-up as well.
Scott, was that a subtle way of telling me I got to get off my ass and get you that roadmap real fast?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's start our lightning round because we have a lot of questions and we'll see if we can get through these. So is PMI, Amy asked, is PMI ACP still relevant to get from entry-level certification to the next, CDA to CDAP previously? Will it be the same for DASM and DASSM?
I guess I could take that. So the ACP is a wonderful certification for those of you who know about it. It's probably one of the most, if not the most rigorous, actually, Agile certification out there, except in DA, and yet underappreciated. You know, you have to learn a lot, read a lot of books, pass a hard test, have lots of real world experience. It just did not get the traction in the market. So we have, and by the way, there's 35,000 certificate holders out there. It doesn't make sense to just get rid of it. So we're going to keep it the way it is. If you're taking the ACP, don't stop, still take it. Keep the certification on your profile. It's a very, very good thing. We would say though that DA goes above and beyond, right? Where the ACP teaches you the ingredients, we teach you how to use the ingredients. We teach you what practices make sense in certain situations to help you choose your way of working and optimize your Agile approach. So if you're brand new, yeah, you can take your ACP. Now, when you take your ACP, you're picking the courses that you go to. PMI doesn't do the training. With DA, what's different is we are standardizing the training. The training is being created by the people who created Disciplined Agile. We think that, long answer, we think that jumping onto the DA certification program is probably the place to go. But if you want to start with the ACP, nothing wrong with that.
Next question by Katrina. She asks, when will the non-software business life cycles that are in the coming soon of the consortium be formally published?
I guess that's me. Yeah, that's been on my plate for a long time, and unfortunately, it keeps slipping. We are. It's on our radar scope for definitely for sometime next year. It'll. I can guarantee that the next edition of the Choose Your Wild book will cover that.
Cool.
I can guarantee that.
Casey asks, how do you respond to those who speculate that DA is just an alternative replacement competitor to SAFe?
Oh, well, it's okay. So I'm a former gold partner, contributor to SAFe, and was the first SBC trainer outside of SAI. That's the people who promote it. And it's completely different. First of all, SAFe's a framework. It's based on essential SAFe, get the teams working, then add as you need to portfolio SAFe or full SAFe. So it's componentized in that sense, and you build up from the bottom up. DA is based, DA Flex, which is it is a competitor, there's no question, but it's architected differently. It's architected around the value stream. In other words, how do you go from the beginning, the portfolio, what are the investment pillars, so to speak, of the company, and step by step, how work is transformed and how communication takes place between the different places. So instead of being organized around levels of people, it's organized around the value stream and the flow of the work. And although there are patterns of use, so it's not you start from scratch, it's not a set framework. You look to see where are my challenges, what's causing them, how do I create a plan to solve this? And if you want to default start, you can, but it's really better to kind of build it contextually. And one last thing on it, because of my familiarity with SAFe, there's a lot of good stuff in SAFe. But SAFe, like bringing the bottom level together so you have all these teams working, it is about managing and accommodating dependencies. DA goes the next level, which is how do you reorganize the teams better, not just into trains, but into more autonomous teams. Now, SAFe aspires to this. They talk about the dual operating system now in the network of teams, but there's no mechanism to break down the teams into more independent value streams. And that's where then we can stop a lot of stagnation, because we learn from the dependencies and then remove the dependencies, not just accommodate them. That's one of the biggest things. Plus a much simpler portfolio and product management. Again, we'll have references to this. I actually have a DA Flex playbook for SAFe. It's an old version, but it gives you the idea of how you can use Disciplined Agile's agnostic approach based on theory and apply it to other situations. And I think that would be very interesting if you're looking at SAFe.
Yeah. It is amazing how quick 30 minutes goes by, and we have more than a dozen questions that are still in the QA, and I see that there are a few in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you one of the spots that we'll be able to answer some of these. And I'm very excited to show that we've been working on a community board. And for those of you that aren't familiar with these, they've been around forever. It's just a really easy place to have conversations and to post topics, and then people chime in with their thoughts. And so we've put together with some other partners the community forum for all things Disciplined Agile. We've got, some of the things like general Disciplined Agile discussions, some stuff on, certification, and lots of forums and sub forums. So Al has his own forum here called Al Shalloway's Thoughts, and he's been gracious to post some replies to the webinar that he did. And so I'll go through the questions and see what I can get between Al, Mark, and Scott, and I'll make some posts here, as well as, in other places. There's lots of good groups on LinkedIn and other communication channels as well. And very simple. The whole URL, allthingsda.com, is dedicated only to that forum, and always only will be to that forum. So I'll encourage you to take a look, come by as a guest, sign up as a member. It's free, and contribute to the discussions. Our next round of webinar speakers, we're going to hear from Anitra Tanner, who's going to be talking about the beginning of a DA transformation. Then we'll also get into trying to get your organization to buy into a DA transformation, and follow up with one that's been followed pretty heavily. And there's been a good case study for Franklin Templeton, which will be a successful DA transformation and where that's just become the way of working. So we're excited about closing out the year with transformation related topics. And once again, for Scott, Alan, Mark, just can't appreciate enough. And again, I see so many of the things, a lot of the private chats that have come through from attendees just saying, thank you very much for the time to come and talk and help answer questions from the community.
Thank you, Joshua. I want to say we should do this again, and maybe we should make it an hour, because a half hour, I talked too long, and now that I realize that we need more time, I think, to delve into some of these topics.
Yes, I agree, and we'll be thrilled to set that up. And based on some chats with Al, so Al is also going to possibly be in a discussion with Steve Tendon to talk about tame flow and maybe some of the comparisons between what he's been doing in the Value Stream Consultant Program sometime early next year. Yeah. Thanks again for everybody in attendance, and we will see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye for now.
Very good. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.